Welcome to Empowered by AI, the podcast for women entrepreneurs ready to harness AI to take their businesses to the next level. I'm your host, Michelle Muncie Silva, founder of Innovative AI Studios. You may have left corporate life to start this entrepreneurial journey, but you don't have to go it alone. Here, you'll find a supportive community of like-minded women and an invaluable thought partner each week, as my guests and I share actionable insights you can use right away. So let's dive in together. I think that you brought up a really good point in that AI and education don't get talked about as much because we're all about AI in business, and we've been talking about that at length. And I think that you are going to be the perfect person to talk to about AI in education. So can you share a little bit about your journey as an educator? And you're a teacher leader right now and mentor teacher at Dream Academy. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, so I've always had a passion for education. I started off working in youth development, through camps and stuff, and I was able to learn a lot about school systems. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be a teacher. And I think a lot of people that are teachers are like, never thought that they would become one, but always loved children. And it was funny because one day I was like, I actually think I need to start teaching because I was working in so many different schools around New York City, I ran a large charter network's recess program and after school programs through this nonprofit called Kids in the Game. So I just really got connected to education in that way. So fast forward now, after teaching pre-K and kindergarten in different places, first grade, I'm now teaching at Dream, and it really has opened me up to AI more in education. And they're actually the reason why I'm getting involved into these conversations because I'm actually in what we call an AI champion at Dream. So I'm actually like pioneering AI education at my campus right now. And it's new for everybody. So it's like a new, fresh conversation. We're doing a lot of success sharing. So at first, I don't know if I like this. My students are going to be using stuff. Are they really learning? We obviously learned in textbooks. And I feel like I grew up in New Rochelle, New York, which is in Westchester County. And I feel like I was very privileged to have a great education, a diverse education. So I'm just thinking about how AI could strip that away. But as of late, I have totally changed my mindset on how it has helped my students and how it can impact the world of education. Because for teachers, you can create supplemental materials to support students. We have literally had our interim assessments, and we create so many different materials and have so many different GPTs to create no-show charts and content expertise builders and all these things that Dream has introduced has me thinking, okay, actually, this isn't bad. And
Mhm.
I think that it's the future of education. I don't know if you saw Apple, how they came out with their like new math tools. It is absolutely insane, but it's also so interesting as a lifelong learner. Oh my gosh, I wonder how I can adapt and use this. So that was a lot. I'm sorry.
No,
But
you don't have to apologize at all.
But it's just I am obviously, I still do have some things that I'm scared about, but it's not even a scare anymore, it's more of, like, open-mindedness and how to introduce my students to it in a way where they're using it for what we say good, because there's always gonna be people that use it for bad, of course, this with anything, but they use it anyway, and we're all gonna use it soon. And I think that I introduced it to my students last week, and I had them create like a running document where they typed in, what do you think AI is? Have you ever used it? Are you scared about it? And what are your thoughts for the future? And a lot of them shared that they have used it before, and they brought up the movie Megan, and they were like, Megan was so scary. But a lot of students said that. And they said that they think that they can use it for homework, but they're not sure if teachers allow it or it's banned. I this year want to take the opportunity to introduce it to them and have them see like the cool things about AI and like how we can research different topics. Like maybe we can take a science day and be like, all right, ask AI about this topic you want to learn about. So I really am, this is like my new thing. So Dream has adapted or is adapting very quickly to it. So they're just teaching us more and more about it. But I'm still doing my research, and that's how I met you
Yeah.
to involve myself in these conversations too. Yes.
What do you think this method of kind of reflection could do for your mentorship, for your leadership? Like, how do you see AI tools supporting teacher development and collaboration?
Yes. Even with my mentee that I have the privilege of working with, she's great. It's like you can put in goals for them. Okay, these are the goals that I want to achieve here. What are some steps that I can take? Or even, I really like how in a lot of these conferences, they're talking about the role playing situations, because I
Mhm.
definitely think as a new leader who hasn't been like a principal or assistant principal and stuff, sometimes having those conversations can be hard. So, another, I can't remember her name, but she was just saying how you can use that to practice situations. Okay, what if she responds this way? Or what can I do to better support this? This is happening. Because sometimes you have to navigate these challenges yourself. And as a leader, you have to come up with solutions. So I think that AI can help support that thinking. Also, it introducing my mentee to how we can create these materials is helpful too, because it also develops her as a better teacher, because it's made me a better teacher. Because there's sometimes where I just type in, how can I better explain 1/3 divided by 2 to students that are not understanding? And it'll give me a whole list of things. So it even changes how I'm teaching something, or, okay, I don't like that response. How can I create a direct model to explain that? Or how can I draw that out? And it won't draw it out, but it's helpful. So I think that one, it can develop like role playing situations where as leaders, you're new trying to navigate things. And two, introducing to be a mentor, showing them the ropes of AI. Because I really like how in the conference they said, never assume that somebody knows more than you about AI. Everybody's new to it. It's not like there's experts, or there are people that are getting a step forward, but those people are literally pioneering this. Michelle, you are an AI pioneer.
That's
You
you and
are.
I together. You and I together.
You are literally creating the space for people to come together and talk about this stuff. And down the line, it's going to be like, I was able to speak to so many people using this platform in different ways. And you're a teacher. I love this.
It's been amazing to talk to all of these people. It really has. And I love the fact that you brought up those custom GPTs because,
Mhm.
for example, I'm thinking of one of the hurdles that we face is trying to remember all the different things to include in a lesson to try to get everybody in the room what they need. It's that teacher's constantly trying to think, okay, what I miss? What I miss? Who am I going to get this to? Who's going to get this? And I was thinking of the power of a custom GPT where it's okay. I know that this period predominantly I've got English language learners in the class, and I need to make sure that my lesson goes through this custom GPT for a checklist. Did I have this? Have I accommodated this? It would just be an amazing resource to help take that weight off,
Yes,
I
it
think.
it is a weight, and I do agree with that weight, because as a teacher, you're always thinking about what you can do better. Sometimes stuff that you come up with, and not to say that we need, but Google's a thing if we look at it like that. But it is a weight, because it's like, how can I better support? But it comes up with so many different things. And even if you
Yes.
give it a background, or you showed an example of stuff, or even if you run a PDF through it, it's able to give you examples of things that you can do. So I am on board with AI in education. I also think that it's helpful for scoring. You can score things so much quicker now.
Yeah.
However, the biggest part is not taking away that human touch of things, though, because just like anything, we still need somebody to review. So some people are like, "Oh, it's going to replace everything." And it's not going to replace, but we do still need to be behind it, because sometimes it's not accurate because it's a robot. So that's the biggest thing that we're learning too. Even with IEP reports with special education, you could try to do an IEP report, but is it really going to give that teacher touch of how you understand your student? the argument is that you can train it that way to do it. It just depends on how you're training your bot. So there's so many different things I could talk about this all the time. But
No, I get you. I get you. And you're touching on one of the things I wanted to talk about because I'm wondering what your take is on this. What you think the biggest challenge is educators face today and how you think AI might help that. And I know we touched on that weight that teachers carry to get all of our kids, all of their needs, all of them need feedback on the latest you know what I mean? There's a huge weight there, but do you think that's one of the biggest challenges, or do you think there's something else?
I think that's one of the biggest challenges, but the biggest challenge I think is the students that are using it and their education on how to use it.
Mhm.
I think that for teachers, that's always a huge challenge, but now students are using it. So for example, like you're teaching high school, and how do we know that they're retaining some of the things?
Mhm.
But if we give students the proper like the proper education on AI and how to use it, and also if we don't have a mindset, an overall mindset, because it's not really adapted by everyone yet. I don't think that
Mhm.
even some colleges have came out and said certain stuff. So that's a whole other thing. But
Yeah.
it just the only concern for me is really how are students going to be using this platform going forward? And how does that impact ability to conceptually understand material? Because you can always plug stuff in, but are you understanding, like for math, do you understand why you're doing that? But then another scary thing is that you can ask it, I want to conceptually understand this. Give me a model. So
Mhm.
I think it's the big thing is it's the education on how to use it and still learn. I guess it's going to change
Yes.
the way we're learning. Students are learning. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
I think any change at this magnitude is frightening. I totally get that. And I think I personally appreciate the focus of the conversation that you're having because so many times when people talk about AI in education, they're talking about this large system of how do we introduce it to educators. And I am what I would say is a little bit more like you, where I'm like, how do I get my kids to understand? How do I get my students to understand the difference between write this paper for me
Right.
and actually submitting a draft and getting really personalized feedback? Those are 2 completely different things. And I
Yeah.
think right now in the student's mind, it's I've been conditioned already to believe that this is cheating. So
Yeah.
any way I use AI, I'm breaking the rules. So if I'm gonna rebel up, I might as well rebel up all the way. And they're just
Yeah.
throwing in the prompts and saying, "Write this for me." Whereas
Mm.
I really want them to slow down and be like, "Okay, hang on a second, because don't label this as all bad. Yeah,
Yeah.
if it writes your essay for you, then that's bad. You're cheating.
Yeah.
But if you submit your draft and you submit the rubric and you say, 'Where am I at right now? What do I need to do to move forward?' And you get that feedback, can you not see how they're gonna get that feedback 5,000,000 times faster than I would be able to give it to them?"
Yes. Yeah. That really is true because then you're getting the feedback. So what did I do wrong here? And I was thinking about that on the way home driving today. And I was
Mhm.
like, I literally was thinking about that exact thing that you said. Like, it could actually give you feed and you're learning in real time. And then I was like, but then my job, because I'm learning stuff in real time as well. So is this going to just change how education is as a whole? Are we going to look back on this podcast on December 16th today and say, oh my gosh, look at how much it changed? But it's for good because it is helpful.
Mhm.
I want to go back to school and I know that it would help me. All of these new things that, and it's beyond chat GPT. And that's what people also fail to realize as well. That's one thing that taught me there's so many other platforms that people aren't even discussing or not or don't have the access to. Everybody just thinks AI is ChatGPT. There is 1,000 other platforms even during the She Leads AI talk. So many people brought up things that I haven't heard. There was one lady from Australia who came out with Call Me, I think it's called, and it's a social emotional learning platform. She couldn't afford therapy, so she created AI to speak with her, and I wrote her, and I was like, "This is amazing. I could see this happening in schools." And we had a back and forth discussion, but I think, like you said, it's about learning how to get that feedback and also understanding that there's more to Chat GPT. There's more things you can learn. So I guess it's
Mhm.
AI literacy. It really is. And also, we haven't seen roles yet in schools for this either. And that is going to be a thing too. There's going to be AI educate, like director of AI specialists that we're going to need them soon. So that's why we're here, because we might be able
Exactly.
to help.
Exactly, exactly, and I believe that, we learned a lot during COVID about what works, what doesn't work. And
Yes.
to answer your question earlier about my job, if I'm not giving them that immediate feedback, if they're getting it in real time, what's my job? And I really do think that if anything was demonstrated during COVID, it's that they need the teacher in the room, right?
Yeah.
Because there's that need for, okay, the human connection, that can't be understated. And then two, how do we support them once they get that feedback in making
Right.
it their own, right? Because the screen has given them feedback and then it's that two-dimensional stop, right? It's stopped right there. So now I need to connect with that kid. I need to look at that feedback too. And I need to say, okay, based on what I know about you, what you've written for me so far, what I saw in your draft, here's where I think you and I can partner to move this forward. I really think that's more the weight now than anything else. It's that human connection. And I think that you're right. That real time feedback is huge because we have gaps that need to be closed in
Yes.
education,
Mhm.
especially for underserved, underrepresented communities.
Absolutely. And I literally was going to get into that too. Like, I do teach in Harlem, New York, and 33% of Harlem is in poverty. And that is just a city. And that's a part of Manhattan. So it's almost even introducing them to these things is giving people that literacy that they need, especially in underrepresented communities. And that's why I love Dream so much, because we are doing amazing work in these communities and transforming them literally with sports and so many different things and opportunities that I didn't have. So it just makes me feel really good about it, but also even introducing them to this is going to be the future. So I agree. So now you have me shifting. So it's that feedback and the human connection part that that is that weight for us. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be heavier on us because that's the part that was one of the things that I noticed during distance learning. There was no connection. None.
Yeah.
There was no, and not for lack of effort, don't get me wrong.
Right, because it's not yeah, I
It
agree.
wasn't for lack of effort. It was, I think, partly lack of training. Obviously, none of us got prepped. No blame there. We
Right.
were all shocked and
Nobody was prepped, and I was
right.
teaching
What were we
hard
told
in the
initially? 2
pandemic.
weeks. We'll be back in 2 weeks. You know what I mean? So it was just
Um,
it was all the way around no blame. I'm looking at it as just this reference that I have from the past of what the limits were. If we just put a child in front of the screen, right? There's limits there. And I
yeah,
think we realized more than ever that the teacher needs to be present to help facilitate what they get
what they
from
get.
that
Yeah.
on the screen, right?
Yes, that's gonna change it's gonna change everything. I do think that it's gonna be amazing though, because you can learn quicker and more things faster, so it really might be able to help, especially students with huge gaps. We're in the midst of state test prep season for us, so
Mhm.
that's the big thing. We're like, how can we differentiate this? How can we support this? So introducing it to students and letting them receive that feedback. So now I have an idea for a workshop in my own class.
Tell me, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking to intro or have them put in a piece of writing, like you're saying, like a piece of writing, and then them putting in a rubric and what they learn from it. So
Mm,
they do that. And then after using that feedback, they're able to do another assignment based on what they learned to see if they learned what they got from AI. I actually think that would be pretty good for them. Because,
That's
okay, so
interesting.
when we did that workshop before, what did the feedback tell you based on the rubric where you wrote this response? And
Mhm.
hopefully we can learn that way. I like that.
Now, do you think that it would benefit to have the students score each other's work first, or do you think they might need to see the feedback and that model and then score after? You know what I mean? Would they need the
Yeah.
model of that feedback first?
Mm.
Because I've always struggled with my kids giving quality feedback.
To one another.
My students, yeah, to do that peer feedback, I've always struggled with that, where it's, I really do want you guys to look at this critically. I want you to give each other feedback. And sometimes some of my kids walk away from that feeling like they didn't really get the same feedback quality. And Miss
That
Silva, can you just do this instead? And I'm like, no, no,
right.
I
So
want
they're
you
not
guys to
getting the
really think
quality.
about it.
I think that for like for 5th grade, maybe it can be chunked a little more. So maybe they start off by writing a claim or restating right now they're working on literally answering a question and restating and answering and citing 2 pieces of evidence. So maybe it can be like, in this response, do you see that your friend responded with 2 pieces of evidence and elaboration? Or did they
Mhm,
have 1 piece of evidence? So I think that just chunking it and starting off small and then getting bigger because yeah,
mhm.
I agree with you because are they gonna be able to even give quality feedback? But I think that they would be able to give good feedback if it was, like, smaller tasks. Does that make sense?
That's a really good point. Yeah, yeah, chunk it. And then they know what they're looking for when they get that. They know that they're giving the best that they've got to an AI tool to get that feedback. That there you go. Okay.
S
See, now
so
you're making me. I'm like,
right.
see.
What are you trying to do? Right. It's like, I'm excited about it. I think that it can and it's also fun too. And it
Mhm.
can you can and I know that in Shalee's AI, there was somebody that said you can go down like an AI rabbit hole if you keep typing and typing.
Yep.
It's fun sometimes.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, Alice in Wonderland for sure.
yes, it really is.
Yes.
So many things you can create. I think I don't know. I am excited about it. I wanna learn more about these educational opportunities they have for them for AI. I said for them, wow.
Yeah. No, I get you. And what advice would you give educators that are still hesitant? Because God knows I've got some people on my staff that are just passionately opposed to a point where I'm like, wow, do you feel that passionate about other things? Voting?
Right. No, exact
Passionately opposed
Ash
to
oh, I'm
AI.
not using that. This is I agree. I think the biggest advice to give someone is I know this sounds easy, but try it.
Mhm.
But genuinely try it for start small. So if you're gonna say, okay, let me try it to create lesson plans that are better for my small group of students. I think just testing it out and seeing what you get, or starting as small as I'm trying to explain this concept. How can I make this better? I use this approach. What am I going to do? Because it also depends on how you're speaking to the bot as well. So I think starting small, because if you start overthinking it and thinking that people are just going to create all these things, I think about the smallest thing that you can use, or think about how you can do something to make your life easier first. Or if somebody emails you, ask for an email reply. Like starting small, that's how I started. Okay, I somebody responded this to me. How can I reply back? That's how you get interested at first. But with educators, I think to start with asking how it can help develop your practice
Mm.
because it has helped develop mine and I have seen results with my students. The results are there. The growth is there. So I know that as I've continued to use I am starting to see more results for my students because I'm bettering my teaching and creating materials that are supporting them based on 1,000 different things. So, yes, I
Yeah.
think those are the biggest things.
Yeah. And guys, going so fast.
That
Technology is it's exponential growth
it is.
now. So I think a lot of people might feel like drinking from a fire hose. You know what I mean? So I love the fact that you suggest just small chunk, just a small chunk. Let it help you do one thing, one tiny little thing, low stakes. I totally get that. But how, with understanding that, we've got different school districts all over the place at all different places. My school district does not sound as open minded as yours, for example. We're still in the banning phase. So
Yeah.
anything I want to do with kids, they're doing it on their phone. They can't do it on their school provided
Oh,
device. It's all
okay.
banned. Perplexity is banned, Chat GPT, Claude, all of it.
Okay.
So I have them use an app on their phone to move forward, right? So how do we ensure that the adoption of AI in education remains equitable? Because I'm serving some of the most underprivileged students in our county. We're a very rural, very agricultural, very English learner dominant population. They need the hand up in knowing this tool, right? Because it will fly right past them when they're trying to get into the job market if they haven't had any experience with it. And I'm just, how do we ensure that this adoption is equitable?
I think that it starts with people like you. I'm actually certain it's about getting the word out. Now, at this point, they're going to realize sooner or later that this is where we're going to need to go. So I think that by continuing to have these conversations, and it can start again, starting small. I'm in an AI boot camp right now. That's how I heard about She Leads AI. But look how it connected me to so many different people. And now we're having a conversation and we teach in two different places and can discuss. So I think starting small, but also having a voice. Like, even if we're presenting it to these school districts, hey, can we start with doing an AI literacy class or something like that? But again, like you said, there's some schools, there's some major colleges that haven't even adapted to this yet. I haven't even heard of some schools coming out to even support it yet. That is a big thing. And it is amazing that you are still creating that space for your students to use it, whether it's on their phone or not, because we can do little things on our own, whether we have the access. Teachers are always, that's who we are. So that says a lot about you to still give your students access regardless of what they can receive at their district, because that little piece right there is going to have your students remember, oh, my teacher let us use it on their phone. It was banned, but there's going to be kids that take that and still gain access. So you're doing the work that you need to do for your students with what you have. So that's amazing.
Has
Um,
your district created a policy that's user friendly with students?
Not yet. I do know that Dream has piloted ChatGPT subscriptions to high schoolers. So I think it's a pilot right now. I'm
Okay.
not really sure how, like, the policy for students hasn't been created. It has not been a widespread thing. The AI champion thing is, like we said, we're just introducing, seeing how teachers are using it, more access. So not as of yet, but it is something that they are clearly looking towards and are creating access for those students already. So that makes me think, okay, Dream does care about what you said. Okay, in the job market, are you going to be able to do these things? Because people are going to fly past you if you don't. But again, you're creating that access without it. That's so nice that you even are letting them use their phone and stuff, because then they're going to go home and use it on their laptop or use it, continue using it.
That's the hope, is that they use it constructively, because that's my thing.
Right.
If teachers like you don't teach them, like, we need you because you're doing exactly that. You're giving them practice so
Right.
that when they show up at high school, I'm grateful for you, because when they get to high school, they're going to be like, oh, yeah, no, we got this. We know how to do this, right? Hey, teacher, what if we used? Can you
Yeah.
imagine? Your kids are going to walk into high school maybe more prepared and exposed than anybody else in the room. That's the gift that you're giving them.
Yes. And I think that's like the power of education though, because even though it's changing, like it really is changing, but we are going to adapt and still do what's best for students at the end of the day. Because this is the future. This is really the future now. So I'm so curious to see how education is going to be in even 2 years. Like you said, it is rapidly moving.
And
And
what do you think? What do you think it's going to be like? I'm curious to hear from you.
I think that it's going to be I think that it's gonna be good, actually. I think that students are gonna learn quicker. I think that it's gonna help a lot of people, but again, it actually makes me think about students that don't have that access to even it's making me think deeper about what about students that don't have internet at home or don't have phones or don't have things. So it's deeper too, because then you're gonna need access to tech.
Mm.
I think that it'll promote more. I'm hoping that there's more equity for people that don't have those things because I everybody has a phone, but we don't know what students have access to and what they don't. So how can we create those opportunities in our own classrooms? Yeah, it's a lot. There's gonna need to be probably legislation. I don't know. There's gonna have to be some
Yeah.
coming out for that and some mandates and stuff about how to use AI. There's gonna be a lot of things, but yes, I have really not to say I have no words, but I'm just the opportunities are limitless. I don't know. I
That's
don't.
no, I think you've captured how a lot of people feel. It's okay. Whew. It's overwhelming when you
It
think
really
about
is.
possibilities. I get you. I'm in the same boat as you. It's like
Teachers
y
will need certification. Is it gonna come down to certifications? Is it gonna come down to we're gonna need professional development on this, getting so many people on board? But that's the power of innovation, though. This is what's happening.
yeah.
It remember when, like, iPhones came out and Siri was a thing, and everybody was like, "This is so weird. I can't adapt to this." We're adapted. So
Yeah, now you can't imagine.
now we adapt. And now or when FaceTime came out, what? That was a big thing.
Yeah.
So I think that it's just that scare first and then
Mhm.
adapting.
Yeah. 100%. I get you. I get you. So, how do you think we can do this in partnership, right? So, how can teachers and school leaders work together to create this environment where we do get to live in the good, as you brought up, and we do get to develop a world where AI enhances rather than replaces that human touch? What does it look like for us to work together, you think?
I know that with my experience at Dream, the leaders that are using it, it's actually like they're teaching us things. So about these GPTs, I had no idea about them. But the leaders are creating GPTs to show you, okay, here's let's say you have a standard and you want to learn more about that content. They're showing us how they use it so that we can use it because I wouldn't have known how to use this stuff if it wasn't for them. So I think that it starts at the top. People say, oh, it can start at the top, it can start at the bottom. But if they're showing their teachers how they're using it in their practice or how we can better support students, then we can take that information to then drive everything else. Um, so I think that also depends on where you are as well, because I do feel like I know that if I was to say, "Hey, I want to create this for my students with AI," I would be like, "Yeah, go ahead. That's great. Let's see how we can connect or let me know how it goes." So I think that it's the school leaders really trusting their teachers to do the work, but also giving them access and professional experience on it. Because we sit and when we analyze data and stuff now, or when we're scoring or using certain platforms, it's they're showing us, hey, we're adapting this now. And we want to show you how to make your lives easier so you're not scoring for this long. Or, for example, I'm looking at GPTs and Dream did give staff access to the premium chat GPT for the year. I think this is another part of the pilot and I'm looking on it right now. And for example, written response analyzer, analyze student constructed responses using the structure. So they already put this structure in, and we can go in and use them. And this is not something that these are just GPTs that people have created in the network or no show chart generator, what you need to know and show for a certain standard. So I think that I feel like the leaders have to be progressive and innovators as well because
Mhm.
they're showing us the way, if that makes sense.
It does. Yeah.
So it makes me happy that it's okay. At least I know I can learn from them because I'm seeing some AI experts already. So it's, oh, I can learn from this. Um, and there's also like a task force, AI task force. So it's still people learning. So everybody's just learning together. So building community. through that. That's how we're continuing to do the work. So I've learned so much in just a short amount of time.
I love that. I absolutely love that, especially the fact that they're modeling that for you and then allowing you the space and time to work your magic with it. Because, like you've been talking about through our talk, it's like, oh, I could use it for this, or oh, I could use it for that. I absolutely love that that's a part of your teaching reality.
Yes. And I think that it's going to continue to grow, right? So they're going to continue to show different things, but it's just having the conversation. And I wouldn't have thought about this stuff or how to create certain things if it wasn't for the director of our curriculum there, because he would always use it and create access for everybody to use it too. And at first I was like, "Oh, I'm not using that scoring system. I'll just manually score." But now this year I'm like, okay, let me use this system and see how it helps, because why not? So
Mhm.
it's just being open minded to it. I think that's the biggest part.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And I think too, it's you start to think, God, what's next? Do you have a what's next? What you could do next? Does this spark some interest in you for creating
It
something yourself?
definitely does. It definitely does spark my interest. I do think that while we know that men are moving quicker in this field right now with AI, and I think that it was so amazing to see so many women come together at the She Leads AI conference. That was amazing. So after going to that, I also was like, okay, how can we make these spaces more diverse?
Mm,
And I haven't seen groups yet, or maybe I just don't have access yet and I need to do more research, more like diverse groups speaking about these conversations. And how can I create that space? So for me, I'm like, how can I make a change in how AI is used in education, but also how can I create a space for people that may not have the access to it, but also other diverse perspectives? Because I will say, I think that even going to that conference, I was like, "Oh, this is amazing, beautiful people," but a majority of the people were white women, and I
mhm.
feel like just looking, it's that's not a problem, but it's like, we need to get more and more people to be a part of these conversations. So it just makes me think about how I can use my voice that way and how I can connect with more people and create access for others. So I'm thinking, how can I start that at my community level, even helping people in my local community or children or something, or a free AI course, or bring a laptop, something that is just creating access for people in the community, but also for my students. So that's what I think would be next, creating that access. But it starts with conversations like these. It really does. And you're inspiring to me too, because you're hearing from everybody, and that's what it takes. Imagine how much knowledge you have gained from so many people in such a short amount of time. And you have a leg up because you're learning so many different things. I want to do similar work to learn from others as well.
I think you are such a leader. I really do. I want to see that free AI course in your community. I want to advertise that for you. I want to amplify that for you in any way I can because that is absolutely what we need to do. We
Yeah.
need to diversify the space.
We do, and and it starts with, like you said, just planting that like seed so that we can continue to learn and grow through it. But just yeah, it starts with just creating that access for people. But it now makes me think about students that don't have access. And like you said, with the students with the phone and not being able to use, we need to get the word out to people so that they can have that access. It's all about that access.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. And
Thank you for the kind words. That was so sweet. Thank you so
oh my goodness. I only speak what I see, and I see an amazing leader in you, and I think that we've been lucky to hear from you. So thank you for
Thank
sharing
you
your
so
time
much
with me.
for having me, and I really wish you all the best with I'm gonna be tuned in and supporting you and getting the word out. Everybody needs to speak with Michelle because you are doing some amazing work, and I know that this is gonna be looked back on, and you're gonna have all these people that are gonna do so many amazing things, and you'll be like, "I was able to speak with them." So I hope that I'm able to shout you out when I'm doing some things in the future. I definitely will be shouting you out and give you all the kudos.
Oh, thank you. And I guarantee you, just based on what we've said right here, you are going to be doing some amazing things because it's
Oh,
all at your fingertips.
thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for tuning in to Empowered by AI. If today's episode sparked ideas, don't wait. Follow the link in the show notes to visit innovativeaistudio.com and download your free resource, created to help you put today's insights into practice. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes packed with more tips, tools, and inspiring stories. Until next time, stay empowered and keep innovating.